I saw in the bulletin. I want to thank Sister Bowden for including the prayer, the healing prayer. Y'all see that? Yeah. I gotta give a disclaimer. That's not by your pastor. I don't want to plagiarize. It's by me to you. But that prayer is by two gentlemen. I don't know exactly which one wrote it, but it's out of this book called The Healing Code. And it's by Dr. Alexander Lloyd. One is a PhD and one is an MD, Dr. Ben Johnson. And they wrote this book, The Healing Code. Awesome book. That's all I can say. It's an awesome book. This breaks down a whole lot of things that are in our, God just gave me something. Whew. Wow. It breaks down a lot of our thinking and how it affects our health. Amen. And so we want to consider those things. But this prayer addresses those things. You remember I was telling you about some things we inherit through our DNA, some things we pick up in this life ourselves. But this prayer addresses everything. Cellular memories is addressing stuff that you could have inherited, because it just says that my cells came from my relatives, who are my mom and daddy. I share their blood type and all that stuff. So what happens is the cells are the same because they have a memory. That's what makes something the same, memory. That's what sometimes hinders us from changing. Memory. This might be a sermon. Because we remember. You see somebody that you had a conflict with, and you're on good terms, no reason to be mad about it, but you still remember. And that's why we have to address our thinking. And so we wanted to, that prayer, when I found the book, be honest, most of the books that I found, some have been recommended and some I just happened upon by the move of the Spirit. I rode by Barnes and Noble, they said it was going out of business, and I thought I'd go and get some cheap books. And it was sitting on the shelf, and I thought it'd be interesting reading material, and I read it, and lo and behold, there's sat a prayer, and they're talking about God. They don't say nothing about God on the outside, but it says something about him on the inside. And that's a good thing. Next Sunday is church anniversary. I need to get with Sister Pauline too on the food deal. I got something coming too, I think. And the ushers, y'all saw where Sister Bowden wants to get with y'all afterwards. We had a nice time at the ushers banquet last night, and I sang like I didn't even think I could sing, even though I was cracking. My voice was cracking a little bit. And I wanted more of y'all to have the opportunity to go, and we'll make sure next year that we do that. And on the fourth Sunday, we will have baptism. Brother Vern Hayes will be baptized. We're going to do that like before Sunday school. You know how we Baptists do it. So those of you that know anything about this pool back here, we need to get together and figure out how we're going to get some water in there next week, so it'll be ready the next week after, because it needs to be heated. It's cold. Even though it's hot in here now, it gets cold. And when you come out of water, it no matter if it's a 75-degree day, if you come out of that water, that wind blowing, you'll get cold. So we want to make sure that we have all that together. And I shared something with Brother Vern. God gave me something for him and for baptism all together. But when we were baptized, we were laid backwards, which symbolizes going down into the grave and coming up. And then most of us did this when we were kids. So even though we went through the process, we still weren't really there. And not to say that there's no place where you just arrive and you are there. But I'm saying, but really our mind, when I went up, and I was a pastor's son, I went up because my cousins went up. Ryan, Adrian, and Lisa, and Angie, all of us got baptized at the same time. And I saw them make a line up and doing revival. All them marched on up to the front, and I was the only one left sitting in the back. I didn't want to be by myself, so I came on up too. But then there's a point in your life when you want to do what God would have you to do. When you want to bow your will to God's will. So we're going to baptize backwards, symbolizing coming by the grave, but then we're also going to baptize forward. which means that I bow in submission to the will of God. And he and I talked about it, and he said, well, because I told God when he gave it to me, I said, that might open up a can of worms. Somebody else might want to be baptized for it too. And Brother Vern said, well, if anybody want to go with me, they can go with me. So just let me know so I can get my strength up. No, in water, you're very light in water. But that's something that God gave me for that. And on that same Sunday, there was a young lady that came here a few weeks ago from St. Louis, Keisha. Well, annually, their whole family comes from wherever they come from all around the country, and they meet at her house and they have dinner wherever they live. She lived in Atlanta, and now they're here in North Carolina, so they're going to all meet at her house, and then normally they would go to the Bayou Classic, which is down in Louisiana, afterwards. Well, this year, they have opted not to go to the Bayou Classic, but they're going to join us here on the fourth Sunday. And Pastor William Johnson, the pastor of Christ Pilgrim Rest Missionary Baptist Church in St. Louis, Missouri, will be our preacher. And that's awesome. I'm so excited. I hope and your carnal mind starts to, it kind of snapped just for a second. I said, man, he come down here, this little church, because his church got balcony and all kind. I mean, they quiet off. Lord, it's like that side of the church. I said, wow. He gonna say, man, where in the world? I said, but you know what? We in the house. Amen. Don't take no sky full of clouds and thunder. There ain't gotta be no big storm. Some of them little storms do more damage than the big ones. And I thank God. We are together and moving and shaking, going places. And I know even amongst us now, we still got some dilemmas as far as in our lives. But I'm telling y'all, just know now, whatever you have going on in your life, gonna be straightened out in just a few short days. Just stay in the fellowship.
Oh yes. Amen.
Stay in the fellowship. So I'm excited about that. We want to make sure to get that in the newspaper. I'm going to email Sister Bowden and I don't know, Sister Sharp, y'all get it on the radio for the fourth Sunday. Make sure we get our stuff on for this Sunday coming up, the third Sunday. I ain't got a Bible. And then the fourth Sunday, that's coming. I don't know what's coming next month. God keeps on opening doors. We don't know what might happen next.